Governor of Uttar Pradesh previously, Shri Ramnath, Shri Udayaraji Patwardhan, with whom I had worked as part of the Swadeshi Movement, and Shri Dr. Satish Ji Mode, who is going to speak after me. I don't know whether I will have the time to listen to his speech. And Shri Anil Dumane, who spoke so well, but I could not get much of what he spoke because that is not the language which I am familiar with. And it's a very distinguished audience. We talk before many audiences. But when we talk before an audience like this, we are very happy because we will be able to share thoughts which we may not be able to share in other fora. It's an audience which has come with an idea to understand how to take the thoughts, the work, the philosophy of Dattopant Thengadi Ji. We have not assembled here to praise him or to celebrate him. He doesn't need it. In fact, these celebrations are very common. We have seen it. And the family members will be present there. Or there may be some benefit we will be getting out of the celebrations we are doing for a person. But here there is nothing. If we are assembled here, it is not for Dattopant Thengadi Ji. We have assembled here because we are very keen to know what we can do further and what this nation can do and how to keep the mission on. There is a larger idea which has brought us together here. And it is with this perspective, I would like to share my thoughts on my association with Thengadi Ji, how we had worked, his thoughts, his models, his strategies, and how I have personally benefited from my interaction with him very closely from 1992 till his demise. You know, I was variously introduced as a chartered accountant, as a journalist, investigative journalist, as someone who is very well known in the field of economics. But actually, I suffer from an identity crisis. Many chartered accountants think I have given up the chartered accountancy work. And so when I go to chartered accountancy meetings, they introduce me more as a journalist. But the journalist think I am a chartered accountant, they don't own me. Because they think I am doing some journalism. And the economists will never agree I am an economist because they feel that their subject is so special, so important, and so elevated. An ordinary man like this, like me, cannot enter into their field. In fact, most of the economists are so upset that I am called an economist, which I am not. But I don't think there is anything called the subject of economics which any man cannot understand with a reasonable competence. And I feel one of the problems of economics are the economists themselves. After the 2008 economic crisis, The Economist magazine came out with a cover story. You must have heard about The Economist magazine, which is probably the most popular and most ideologically oriented, a powerful exponent of the Western world view. And globalization, WTO, these are all very much the passion of The Economist magazine. In fact, The Economist magazine once wrote that we should somehow, for the next 25 years, maintain the supremacy of the West in the interest of the world. That is, the supremacy of the West must be maintained in the interest of the world. This is the kind of, evangelization, virtually conversion of the most intelligent people of all parts of the world, including many of our own thinkers in which the Economist magazine was engaged in. And that magazine, in the year 2008, when this collapse occurred, 2008 towards the end, in June 2009 they came out with this cover story. And the cover story depicted economic theory, the book, economic theory was melting. What happened to economics? This was the title. And the editorial that was written there, in fact, I think I should have brought it here. The editorial said, it is not economic crisis, it is economics in crisis. This is what they wrote. They said all the theory of economics developed in the last 30 years are useless at best or positively harmful at worst. There cannot be greater condemnation of the subject of economics or the guild of economics or the economists themselves. And it said, one section of the economists began saying the other section of the economists are woolly-headed people. So this is the state of economics today. From that day till today, economics has not come out of the crisis, but the economists are very respected people because there is no alternative to them. So I always used to feel, whenever I recall Thengadi Ji, that he didn't have much regard for economists. And I had a lot of regard for economists at that time. I will go into it later. This used to be a kind of a debate between me and him. He said, the economists cannot teach the society. The society will produce economics. This was Dattopant Thengadi Ji's view, about which I will go into it later. For the present, what I would like to start is how he influenced me. See, I come from a corporate background, so I am a so-and-so. With proper understanding of our culture, our value systems, family orientation, community life, the idea of Hindu Rashtra, these are all very normally integrated into our way of life, thinking, expression. And this forms our personality. But this does not complete our understanding about individual subjects which we have to deal with. These are all general philosophical model, an overarching idea, but it doesn't deal with the specifics. Because the building blocks of India are different. There is education, there is economics, there is politics, there is culture. There are different building blocks. The overarching idea of Hindu philosophy will guide us to how to deal with a particular building block. So being a corporate advisor, moving with all the top corporates, there has never been a corporate, very top corporate, which might not have taken advice from me at some point or the other, or they have not been my friends. When the tsunami of globalization hit India, most corporates did not know how to deal with this. It's a tsunami. I'm a new animal. They have not seen that. So when they sought my advice, I had no advice to give. Because something very new with which we are not familiar, what will happen we don't know. A new situation, a new disease, a new plague. When it had come, there was no answer. So it was at that time, I was told that you have been picked up to join the Swadeshi Jagran Manch. I was asked to go to the Swadeshi Jagran Manch by Seshadri Ji, who was the Sahasarkar at that time. So they said, you go and meet Thengadi Ji. I went to Thengadi Ji. Thengadi Ji, at that time they had called for a meeting in Delhi, in which many important people participated, and the most important being Justice Krishnaya. So So in that meeting, the Swadeshi Jagran Manch was virtually launched. But what will Swadeshi Jagran Manch do in the context of globalization? Globalization is something which had invaded India. Because the defense against globalization are your import policies, your foreign exchange restrictions, your domestic policies, liberalization, it's all coming. It's already entered. How to fight this? So the government is working with globalization. And we are fighting globalization. So is it a task which can be accomplished? This was the question in our mind. So Thengadi Ji said, we have to start our fight somewhere and the fight will lead us where we want to lead. So it is not something that we can plan. This is the way it will move. You never learn swimming and get into the swimming pool. You get into the swimming pool and learn swimming. This is what Thengadi Ji told us. But the entire country was confused. I can personally tell you that many government officials called our industrialists and told them that we are not good in manufacturing. Manufacturing requires different scale. You need to produce steel at the global level. You need to produce vehicles at the global level. You need to produce anything at the global level. You don't have that scale, you don't have the technology, you don't have that money. So it is much better you sell your business to foreigners. This was the advice given by some of the top government officials to top industrialists in India. That is where they asked me, what do we do? In fact, those officials told, I don't want to name them and shame them, but the fact is, I know all of them. And those officials, when they told this, the business people asked me, what do we do? At least one businessman stood against it. And when everybody said, you cannot manufacture car at the global level, global scale, he said, I will make an Indian car. That was the Indica. He was Ratan Tata. You know, he had that gumption, that courage. But there are very few, not many. So, I was harassed by the kind of problems the industrialists were facing. They were all told, you sell your manufacturing units and become traders. We have been good in trading for 300 years. We will make very good traders. Afterwards, we were told, you can't even do trading. Hand it over to the multinationals. Walmart will do better trading. What will you do? This was the kind of confusion into which this country had been launched by the media, by the economists, by the experts, by political thinkers, political parties, had no clue. So Thengadi Ji told me, you begin doing this work, you will get clarity. I said, Thengadi Ji, it is too abstract what you are saying. He said, you begin doing this work. The society will give you the answers. These are all like Upanishads. But I tell you, that is precisely what happened. My understanding of the country, my understanding of economics, my understanding of business, my understanding of everything underwent a change when I joined the Swadeshi Jagran Manch and began touring the country. I understood that something very different is working in the country, which is not over the surface, which is not in the media, which is not in the discourse, which is not in the understanding of the intellectuals of India. I went to Ludhiana. I was stunned by the popular prosperity Ludhiana had generated. Ludhiana had the most modern machine tool manufacturing. And it was producing largest number of cycles in the world. It was exporting cycle spare parts for all the multinational cycle manufacturers. Where did this competence come, skill come? Where did this knowledge come, technology come? In fact, when I was asked to address a meeting, I couldn't have even working knowledge of Hindi at that time. Now I can manage some Hindi. So when I began speaking in English, the entire audience stood up. Videshi bhasha mein Swadeshi nahi chalegi. That's the only language I knew how to talk. Fortunately, I was wearing these, like Narendra Modi did in Tamil Nadu. So I was wearing kurta and dhoti. I told them, do I look Swadeshi? All of you are wearing coat and pant and tie and all that. Are you looking Swadeshi? That's how I managed to come. Because in Punjab, nobody comes to a meeting without a tie. So I said, I look Swadeshi. None of you are Swadeshi. I am only using a Videshi language. So I gave a quote. I consider English as a language and not a status. I still remember the Tribune magazine had put it in a box, that English language and not status. We must understand how to use all this as AK-47. English is AK-47. You should use it as AK-47. But not become its slave. So we use English because there is a particular disease, an intellectual disease in India, which English has spread. And Vishasya Vishamaushadam, you have to clear it also only through English. This is how I defined English. And then none of them, very few of them, all the businessmen with whom I moved with, all top business people with 500 crores, 1000 crores, 100 crores turnover, no one knew English. I was surprised because my idea was that if you are making money, if you are successful in business, you must be good in English. Because that is the kind of people I have moved with. What is this? The fellow knows nothing. And he is producing so much money. So hardworking, understands technology. Something very different was happening. Then I don't want to go deep into the kind of interactions I had which made me understand that there is so much of depth and skill and competence and courage and entrepreneurship in this country, that we are unable to fathom the Indian society. The education doesn't expose you. It doesn't bring out the Indian society's competence, its skill, its basic poise. This was my initial. Then I went to Badala. Then I went to Jalandhar. When I went to Jalandhar, I was made to stay in a Sangajalak's house. And there was no time to go to his factory. He asked me, I want you to come to my factory. I manufacture cricket bat. Cricket bat in Jalandhar? At that time, I don't know whether anybody played cricket in Jalandhar or not, 1993. So he took me to his factory and said, I will tell you now, the Australian Cricket Control Board buys only my bats. Do you ever know even today that Jalandhar is the largest manufacturing center of cricket bats in the world? So he told me, we are small, the factory will be half the size of this hall. One fellow was manufacturing the willow. He said, you look at this man. He will manufacture, depending upon his mood, 25 willows a day, or 20 willows a day, or 30 willows a day. And for each willow, he gets 150 rupees. I am talking about 1993. And see the Maruti car parked outside. In those days, Maruti car was the best an executive could think of. See, that Maruti car belongs to him. He's a carpenter. I could understand how prosperity is produced by skill, entrepreneurship, courage. And the entire prosperity was built by a community known as the Ramgadiya community. who are born engineers. And you go anywhere in northern parts of India, western Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, or western side of Rajasthan, northern side of Rajasthan, Punjab, you will find this community. And if they manufacture, see something they will manufacture. That is how all these manufacturing technologies came into India. And they used to go to Germany and go to the German machine tool manufacturing units and exactly produce what they are manufacturing. And so they were banned from entering into those manufacturing units by Germans. Repetition. When I came to Rajkot, Rajkot is a desert. How a desert became a prosperous place? He said, please look at me. I have been a corporate advisor dealing with foreign investment, foreign lawyers, going abroad, working for clients. I never knew India. I only knew this India which had nothing to do with India. So it is a new experience, a new lesson, new understanding, new awakening, almost amounting to a shock. So I will tell you about, because if I tell the whole, I visited over a period of about 7 years, I visited about 40-45 industrial clusters, and my team visited much more. And the knowledge I got out of it completely transformed my understanding of the Indian society, the entrepreneurship, the basic skills, the social capital which they produce, about which I will tell you. And when I went to Rajkot Industrial Bodies Association President and me, we had a talk. We went on till 2 o'clock in the morning. He did not know one word of English and I did not know one word of Gujarati. And I told him, how did this huge industrial setup come there? He said, sir, 1954, one Patel imported a diesel engine. And he dismantled it. There is nothing great in it. So we can produce it. So he replicated and produced one more. And then he called all the people around him that let us all jointly manufacture. There was no IPR. The man did not say he will only make prosperity. This is social capital. And you know, today, not today, 1994 when I went to Rajkot, there were 55 assembling units, 2,500 ancillary units, and they were exporting diesel engines to Saudi Arabia and other places. They were manufacturing spare parts for all the multinational companies. They did not know one word of English. This was another shock to me. You know which place has the highest per capita income in India? I will tell you which are not the places. This I have told in many meetings. If you had listened to any of my YouTube speeches, you would have known this. It is not Bombay, it's not Delhi, it's not Chennai, it's not Bangalore, it's not Hyderabad, it's not Calcutta. Which is the place with the highest per capita income in India? It is a place called Morbi in Gujarat. When I went there, I was stunned. Because Morbi was wiped out in a dam burst in 1965. It was wiped out. That has 1,200 clock making units. You know the Samay clock, Ajanta clock which we all use. It's manufactured in Morbi. They have 1,100 diamond cutting units. They have 1,200 ceramic units. When I went there, the population was about 2 lakhs. And more than half the population was employed. Most of these were household industries, cottage industries. Something very different was happening. And I can tell you right down to Thoothukudi, whether it is. I didn't know about Tamil Nadu. I never knew a place called Namakkal in Tamil Nadu, where I had only known about Hanumanji Mandir, a famous mandir. When I went there, I found that it is the place, the largest number of lorry owners are only in Namakkal. And if Tata Motors or the Ashok Leyland wanted to fix what will be the demand for the commercial vehicles next year, they will go and have a discussion with them. I never knew this. And when I talked to the Lorry Owners Association president, he was a cleaner who became a driver and then became a owner, and he had 300 lorries with him. And he said there are 3,000 people who are owning lorries here. Experience after experience made me understand that the strength of the country is not what we believe it to be. And a very different idea of Indian development model came to my mind. In all these places is the community that works. If you introduce politics into a community, that community is destroyed, politics is also destroyed. But if you introduce commerce in a community, the community prospers, the country also prospers. Because a community is social capital. You know, in Tirupur, where I went, Tirupur is 50 kilometers from Coimbatore. You know why I am saying all this? This is what Thengadi Ji made me do. He changed, he said, you get into it, you will understand what it is. It's like a rishi saying it. You will know what you have to do when you start doing this work. Go and understand their problems. They will tell you what is their difficulty, what is their competence. What you should do, you will know when you deal with them. In fact, I came back and reported to him, the society is the most competent opener university from which you learn. You don't go and teach the society. The society teaches you because of hundreds and thousands of years of his durable experience. It has so much to teach you. And so when I went to Tirupur, it is 50 kilometers from Coimbatore and it is doing knitwear exports. Tirupur knitwear exports, only a one-lane road. And how did they become knitwear exporters? Because they were having black soil in which they were growing cotton. From cotton growing, they went into cotton ginning. They saw somebody is ginning my cotton, why not I gin myself? From ginning, they went into spinning, and somebody is spinning, why not I spin? From spinning, they saw somebody is weaving, they went into weaving. And from weaving, they went into knitting and emerged as perhaps one of the largest centers in the world of knitwear garments. So when I went there, they were producing about $1.5 billion worth exports. Now they are producing $7 billion worth exports. But we are not bothered about them. Boston Consulting in America, they found there is a place in India from where so much knitwear garments are being exported. So they sent the study team to India. They looked at the Indian map, there was no Tirupur. Then they went on, seeing state after state. In Tamil Nadu, they found a small place called Tirupur. They sent their team to study. They told the AC College of Technology Management Division that we want to come and see Tirupur. AC College Management was very happy. From Boston Consulting, people are coming. They arranged their taxi, they arranged their hotel, they looked after them. Boston Consulting made a study and reported that in Tirupur, this community, because of the mutual trust they have, they circulate their capital, they share their knowledge, they share their general cooperation, and they have emerged as a top knitwear manufacturing center. This was published in the World Development Report of the World Bank as a model for India, for other places to adopt. But this is not what our economists will study. Because they have no understanding of India. I saw this repeatedly everywhere. With the result, between 1992 and 2001, my entire understanding about Indian economics, Indian economy, and generally about economics, what will work in India and what will work for India, all this completely changed. And I used to report to Thengadi Ji. In fact, many times I disagreed with Thengadi Ji. I told him, your ideas are very old technology, it won't work. You are too much influenced to be a labor thinking. He told me, without that labor thinking, your Swadeshi Movement is a bogus organization. Unless I encourage my people to participate, there will be no Swadeshi Movement. So you allow me to talk labor economics. This is what he used to tell me. He had such openness. I told him, your labor economics is incomplete. He said, I know that. But that is an important part of economics, you should never miss it. And then we had a discussion. In fact, I understood Thengadi Ji when he said the third way. When we had a very long discussion one day. I told him, Thengadi Ji, you are saying about the third way. Is it because communism will not work and capitalism is not going to work and everybody this will work? He said, you tell me, how do you understand third way? I told him, for both capitalism and communism, socialism, you need employers and employees. He said, you are right. In your third way, all are self-employed. You are absolutely right, he said. 90% of the Indians are self-employed. That is the third way. That is why communism would not capture India. That is why India would not become capitalist. And then I read a very big agroeconomist called China in Russia. If only Russia had followed China, Russia would not have collapsed. Completely Thengadi Ji's idea. China was a communist who told Lenin, don't disturb the small farmers. Don't acquire the small farmers' land. Allow him to do the work. He said, no, they are kulaks. You should never allow anybody to own land. The land should belong to the state. The land should belong to the proletariat. And said nothing, you should not, because a person is owning small piece of land, you should not. Then he built a whole lot of theory, how a family working on farm produces more efficient result than a farming in which there is labor, there is cooperation, all these things. And of course, China was very badly treated and finally Stalin had him killed. You know how Russia recovered later? It began permitting small farming. That is how Russian farming came back to life. That is called small and marginal farming, where farming is virtually the backward integration of the kitchen. You know, we have 100 million small and marginal farmers in India. If they do not produce food for themselves, there is no way we can supply food to the country. This is third way. Third way is not philosophical. Third way is practical. How to fund them, how to make them work, this should be the policy. This is not the policy of any government, unfortunately. Because we are interested in producing food for the urban population. And that becomes the dominant agricultural model. But there is another agricultural model. You know, 60% of the food produced is not sold. It is non-commercial. It circulates within villages. Only 40% of the agricultural produce enters commerce. But we make policy only for this 40%. For the 60%, we don't make any policy. You know where I got all this understanding? It is because of this one man who made me swim And that is how, if anybody in the economic field takes me seriously, it is because he put me on the, not the thinking mode, but working mode. That is why I consider him a kind of a rishi. In fact, when he died, I wrote an article. That was probably the only article to appear in the mainline newspaper, the Indian Express. A tapasvi dies unnoticed. This is what I wrote about Thengadi Ji. Today, India is emerging as an alternative or a huge power. We have moved from the audience to the head table of the world today. There is no great forum in which we are not occupying a very important position. Thengadi Ji fought when India was a pushover. Nobody wanted. It's an untouchable. That's the India Thengadi Ji was fighting to save. Now we are in a very different position. Now I will tell you how Thengadi Ji's view that there cannot be one model for all, that there is no one size fit all model for everybody. This is what he has been saying throughout his life. I asked Udayaraj Patwardhan what is the date on which Thengadi Ji passed away, because I forgot. He told me 14th October 2004 is the date on which Thengadi Ji passed away. You Google and get October 18th and 19th 2005, exactly 1 year later. The G20 nations assembled in Beijing. You know what they said? Precisely what Thengadi Ji said. They said there is no one-size-fits-all development model for the world. Every country will have to work out its own model consistent with its variables and distinction. 1 year, just 1 year after Thengadi Ji, this is what the G20 nations declared. But in 1951, when the United Nations was a very powerful organization, it had an advisory for all underdeveloped nations. They said if you want to develop, there are 3 things you have to do. All ancient philosophies have to be scrapped. World social institutions have to disintegrate. Bonds of caste, creed will have to burst. Any community which is not going to pay this kind of price is not going to have any prosperity. This was based on President Truman's idea that the East will have to be like the West, which is the best for the rest to follow. This was the idea. Our education system, our public policy model, our planning commission, our economic thinking, our public discourse, everything followed this. So long as India is going to keep its philosophy, its way of life, its sociology, its community relationships, it will never grow. This is what we were taught. This was the ruling idea against which Thengadi Ji was fighting. But 1 year after Thengadi Ji, the G20 nations came and said, this thought which we have been telling the world that there is only one model which suits all is wrong. Every country will have to work out its own model. 18th, 19th October 2005. Then in June 2008, the World Bank came out with the same statement. We have learned the hard way in our work across the world that there is no one size which fits all countries. For an institution like the World Bank to say this, it's a very difficult thing because they have always been saying that there is only one model. Each country will have to work out its own model depending upon its variables and distinctions. Then in 2010, officially the United Nations rejected that this one-size-fits-all model is wrong. And in 2013, what we have been saying throughout the discourse, struggling against this secular, modern, economic thinkers. United Nations said in 2013 that there is no one-size-fits-all model. Culture is a very important component of economic model. This is what we have been saying. From 1951 to 2013, this U-turn occurred in India. People like Thengadi Ji worked and struggled to convince our people that what the West says is not the best. Please be careful. We have our own model, our own culture, our own value systems, our own relationships. This whole thing has been accepted at the global level too. When we articulate the Thengadi Ji understanding of India, these are all, I have found one thing, these great people when they speak, they may not even give a reason why they are saying something. Even they may not know the reason. But only truth will come out of them. That's how I understand how in 1992, Thengadi Ji said that there cannot be any uniform model for the world, and what capitalism and communism are saying that there should be one uniform model is their strength as well as the weakness. Communism collapsed because it was imposing a one-size-fits-all model. Capitalism is lingering because it is propagating one-size-fits-all model. That's the difference between the two. Capitalism and communism are not competing ideologies. They are actually competing on ownership only. Whether property should be publicly owned or privately owned is the only dispute between the two. What the property should be put to use, on that they have no difference at all. In fact, Noam Chomsky said that capitalism will accept Chernobyl. Chernobyl where the nuclear accident took place. Capitalism will accept Chernobyl only if it works at a profit. Communism will accept it at any cost. That is the difference between the two. Thengadi Ji said very clearly, communism has fallen. Do you believe capitalism will fall? I said, Thengadi Ji, I am not sure. Because it is able to arouse the ambition, expectations, lust of the people. It will probably survive for long. Maybe it will survive beyond you and me. He said, no, it will not survive. You will see in your lifetime, whether I am seeing it or not, this will collapse. I never thought this would happen. But you see, people like him looked at things in such perspective. When colonialism went on for 200 years, everybody thought this is final. Colonialism is going to last forever. 200 years, colonialism collapsed. When mercantile capitalism came, everybody thought this is going to be the permanent thing. 100 years it collapsed. When communism came, everybody thought this is going to be the final. 50 years it collapsed. When globalization came, globalization was described by Francis Fukuyama in his book End of History and the Last Man, that the time has come for the West to accept the West as the best and to follow the West. This was his theory. In 25 years, Economist magazine wrote 5 months back, globalization is dead. Do you remember Thengadi Ji? This is what he told us. This will die. But do we have alternative? That is where we, as someone inspired by him, we will have to find how to work out this alternative. This alternative is very much an Indian way. We are a relation-based society. West is a contract-based society. This relation-based society's economics is very different. It's a sharing economics. You share knowledge, you share your money. Simple one example I will give and close my speech. In the year 2001, There was a discussion in Mr. Advani's house, in which some civil servants were also there, about privatization. So I was opposing privatization. I was opposing mindless privatization. So Kumar Bhattacharya was one of the finest economic policy makers. He was advising Margaret Thatcher's privatization. He was the advisor to South African government, Malaysian government. And he's a Warwick University professor, and we have worked together in corporate consultancy. He was there, and the meeting had been so arranged to make him convince me to accept privatization. He said, Guru, you should not oppose privatization. I said, I am not opposing my privatization mindlessly, but I am opposing mindless privatization. So talks went on like this. I asked him, can you privatize the railways? You know, we don't understand railway when you look at it like this. Railways transport the whole of Australia every day. The Australian population is transported by railways from one end to the other. It may be 10 kilometers or 1,000 kilometers. The entire Australian population of 33 million, the railways is transporting every day. I asked him, is it possible for a non-governmental agency to run it? So you must be discreet in suggesting privatization. Then I asked him, why are you suggesting privatization? No, we don't want the burden on the government. The government has much more important things to do. Why should we run airways? Why should we run bus service? Why should we run railways? Why should we run BHL? I said, it is a public burden you want to remove from the government. I am asking you a question. Which is the biggest public burden on the government in the West? He said social security and health security. Many of us, we have not even heard this. Social security is taking care of elders, infirm people, unemployed people. Those who cannot take care of themselves, you take care of them. This is social security. The government has taken over the social security in America. The present cost of future social security burden in America today is $66 trillion. The obligation the government has undertaken to provide for health, to provide for future pensions, to provide for unemployment in future is $66 trillion. America's GDP is less than $19 trillion. And America does not have even $1 to meet this burden. This is one thing which will dynamite the American economy according to many economists. There is no answer. You know what they did? They made the sons and daughters feel that they need not take care of the parents. They said, you just pay this tax to us, we will take care of your parents. Why should you take care of the parents? Milton Friedman, who was one of the finest economic minds, he told the Americans, don't do this, don't interfere with the family. Now, no American child thinks it is necessary to take care of the parents. No American parent thinks it is necessary to take care of the child beyond 14. The family is finished. It has become a contract-based society. And today, 41% of the babies born in America are born for unwed mothers. Half of them for school-going children. 51% of the families, father and the mother do not live together, or there is no father at all. There is a book written in 1998, Fatherless America. Economic policies can destroy a society. Please understand. This is brought about by economic policies after 1960. So I told Kumar Bhattacharya, why can you privatize social security in America? He said it's not possible. You know why? You can privatize an asset. Social security is a liability. You can sell Air India, but can you say you have to take care of your parents from today onwards? You cannot privatize social security because there is no family. You cannot create families by law. But you look at India, it is privatized. Not by law, but by our culture, our value systems, our idea of dharma. Kumar Bhattacharya told me, Guru, if this one point is articulated by the Indian intellectuals, Indian economists, Indian media, the balance sheet of the government of India will be more bankable than the balance sheet of any Western country. You understand the strength of the Indian society, our culture, our value systems, in strengthening India. The Indian government is not economics, Indian economy. It is the Indian society. This broader understanding I got only because of my work in the Swadeshi Movement, guided by technology. It's a very vast and comprehensive knowledge of economics, society, culture, family, community, differentials, relation-based society and contract-based society. It's a very vast learning. All that I have tried to give you a capsule of what I have understood. Much more to say. But on another occasion, maybe in another meeting, I am addressing a meeting in Bangalore, I will try and explain more. And I am thankful to all the members of the Swadeshi Movement present here. Each one of them has contributed to the growth of my understanding about the Indian economy. Today, this view is a respected view in the committee and the Guild of Economists, and we should be happy that Thengadi Ji has brought about a transformation in the economic thinking of India, not as an economist, not as a leader, but by the instrument he created, the Swadeshi Movement. Thank you very much.